What's up, guys? Coach Brandon here. Now, I know you've been cruising through this mindset training and we've got some goals written down. We understand the basics of why mindset is important. We know that perfection is a lie. Well, now we're going to talk about the 7 habits for massive fitness success, right? We don't want a little bit of success. We want massive success and change. So we're going to talk about these 7 habits that, if practiced, I pretty much guarantee 99.9 repeating percent that you're going to achieve your goals, right? So I really stress these with all my clients that I work with one-on-one in my one-on-one training program and my group training clients as well. So you're getting all that information that I'm kind of distilling for them and coaching them on step by step through that process, distill down into these 7 habits that you can use on a daily basis. Now, this is basically a checklist that we talked about in terms of those habit goals in the previous lesson to build intrinsic motivation and build that momentum towards massive change. So one thing that could be good for you in building those habit goals and sort of setting it out is actually make a checklist of these 7 things every day and make sure that you're checking them off to build momentum. So our first goal is going to be to hydrate, right? So the first success habit that you need to check off every day is hydration. Right? Think of yourself as a car, right? If you don't have oil, the car is going to overheat. Just like you need to make sure that you're hydrated for any of the number of processes that your body relies on for water. So your goal on a daily basis is going to be half your body weight in ounces of water. So 200-pound person, 100 ounces of water. You do the math, divide your body weight in pounds by half, and that's how many ounces of water you're going to strive for a day. Now, a really easy way to do this, get a water bottle like me. This is 40 ounces. I make sure that I have at least 3 of these a day. I'm overshooting because I'm pretty active. I sweat during the day. So if you're going to get a workout in, you may want to go over a little bit. Have that water bottle and just set a simple goal. Like in this case for me, fill that water bottle 3 times throughout the day, drain it, and I'm good to go for my hydration. So the first goal is going to be hydration. Now, the next goal is the one that most people overlook, but I would argue is actually the base as the most important of the fitness pyramid, right? Sleep. Now, sleep is the thing that none of us are getting enough of, and the one thing that'll literally make you better at everything else you do right now. The goal for you is going to be 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. That's the recommended daily amount for the average adult. Now, how do you guarantee that you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep? Well, you can't. That's the frustrating part. We've all had those nights where we lay in bed, we're staring at the ceiling, we're counting sheep, we're rolling over. Next thing you know, it's morning. We can't control that, but what we can control is something called sleep opportunity. And that's the amount of time we spend in bed with the lights out, no electronics, just trying to sleep. Over time, our body will adapt and actually sleep throughout that period. And we always need to overshoot the amount of sleep you want by 1 hour of sleep opportunity. So if you want that 8 hours of sleep, you actually need to be in bed for 9 hours because it takes time to fall asleep. And you're probably going to get up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom. So minimum of 8 hours of sleep opportunity per night gets you that 7 to 9 hours each night. So goal number 2 is to make sure that you're checking off that sleep box. The third habit for fitness success is going to be movement. Now, this can include exercise, but is just general movement in regards to making sure that you're walking, you're getting up from your desk now and then, which can be very challenging because a lot of us are rooted to a computer throughout the day. So a couple strategies that you can implement. You can take a longer walk first thing in the morning or in the evening Another strategy is to take a 10 to 15 minute walk after each meal. If you have a dog, that's great. Might consider getting a dog to help with your fitness. Always a good idea if you like dogs. I'm obviously a dog person, so I'm a little biased there. But other strategies can be setting a timer on your phone a few times a day to get up and walk around, even if you're in place. Maybe if you're back in the office walking around, you're at home, walk around the block and come back. The goal is going to be to get 7 to 10,000 steps per day. So if you have a fitness tracker like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, that's a good way. Your phone can also track steps. But generally, we want to be moving for at least an hour per day outside of exercise. And that's just kind of casual general movement. So our third item there is going to be movement. Our fourth one is going to go back to this whole training, which is mindfulness or mindset training, right? We need to touch base with those goals we set initially and make sure that we're checking in, we're achieving those goals, we're on track, and also that we're checking in with ourselves for mental health purposes. We don't take care of our mental health and we don't focus on the things that we want. All these other habits and behaviors like the workouts and the nutrition really aren't going to be too good to us. So 5 to 10 minutes per day, journaling, meditation, just sitting silently, having some time to yourself to focus on what you want and where you're at in life right now, that's going to be a daily habit that sets you up for success as well. Number 5 is the one you've probably been waiting for. That's the food. And we're going to call that fueling, right? because we want to change the connotation of diet to fuel, because the idea is we're using calories and food to fuel our activity for our body and our mind throughout the day. So are you making sure that you're eating mindfully, you're tracking your food if that's part of your program, or you're at least paying attention to what you're putting in your body? So some form of mindfulness, or actually physically tracking the food using MyFitnessPal or a sheet, which we'll talk about later in our course here, to make sure that you're monitoring your food intake. Number 6, the 6th habit that you're going to need to follow in order to be successful is recovery. And that can mean a light walk, foam rolling, stretching, some type of activity, breath work even, that is focused completely on recovering from your mind and your body at the same time. So something I like to do first thing in the morning to knock out a bunch of these habits, I wake up, I spend 5 to 10 minutes on the foam roller doing some stretching, then I spend 5 to 10 minutes journaling, and then I go for a 5 to 10 minute walk. That's the first 30 minutes of my day, and I already knocked out part of my habits for the day. So that's one way you can kind of stack all these together. And now you're probably like, where are the workouts? So number 7 is, here are the workouts. So movement is great, but we also need to do some type of strength training, resistance training, get our heart rate elevated for health. And also if you have other goals involved in your fitness goals. So we want to make sure that you're getting some type of workout in at least 3 times per week. Some form of resistance training is what I recommend for people. 3 to 5 days a week is a good range for the average person, unless you have a very specific outcome or athletic goal that you want. So you're also checking off that box of some type of movement. You can either do an hour 3 times a week, an hour 5 times a week, or a half hour every day. However you want to break it out, you basically break it up. You basically want to hit 3 hours per week of intense activity, whether that's weightlifting, HIIT activity, something like that. And we'll get more into the training aspect later. So these 7 habits, if completed on a daily basis, are going to make sure that you are successful and you're moving towards your goal. So I challenge you for the next 30 days to see if you can check all 7 of these boxes, right? Now, what happens when life happens, right? The neighbors were up all night, they kept you up, you weren't able to sleep, you didn't have your meals prepped on time, your day is just a disaster, there's like back-to-back-to-back meetings. What do? Well, we triage, right? We figure out what's the best case scenario out of the worst case scenario. So in this case, we need to pay attention to a few things that we still have within our control on those really tough days. We need to make sure that we're hydrating. We need to make sure that we're moving, and we need to make sure that we're fueling no matter what, those 3 things, right? So basic human survival needs. So make sure that you always have water available, even especially when traveling. Make sure you always have healthy snacks on hand, like bars, some nuts, dried fruit, something like that. And always make sure that you have some space to move around, even if it's 5 minutes of stretching or flow or walking or something like that. So ideal is these 7 habits. We're going to try to create an environment that makes it easy for these to happen. But in those cases when it doesn't, when in doubt, fuel, hydrate, and move, right? Basic human needs. So as part of this assignment, download the checklist for these 7 habits. And I challenge you for the next 30 days to see if you can check off these 7 habits every single day. And I guarantee you're going to be in a much different place than you were at the beginning of those